My card.
I was trying to figure out what services I provide.
All right. So, you know your signals?
Yeah, let's go over it one more time because
Yeah.
I thought that was a signal. I was like, all right, what are we talking about now?
So 1, 2, 3, do it.
Yes.
All right, so I'm Justin Young, the host of Mad Moguls at madmoguls.com. You can find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and then YouTube.com, where if you just search Mad Moguls or any of the topics that we're talking about. And today we're with Corinthian Jamaii, and he's the owner of the Cool Nerd Squad.
Yes.
And he's been helping us with some IT for some of our customers because that's a big issue for a lot of the customers is not having the right IT for their business, not having the right hosting, and that's something that we needed. We saw a need for our customers, and he helped fill that need. So let's turn it over to Corinthian, and he can tell us about the company.
Yeah. So basically, my business it has different segments within it. I would say the most prominent where I started out was doing mobile repair for residential clients.
Right.
Eventually, once it got to the point where I actually knew what I was doing and whatnot, then I was able to translate it into business clients as well.
Yeah.
So I do computer repair, networking, security and whatnot for them. We also do phone repair as well.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing actually.
Any hacking?
I've actually had so many requests to do hacking, but I was like, I need to stay within my ethical code,
Yeah.
So, the biggest thing that actually shifted everything was when the iPhone 4 came out, or the 4S.
Yeah.
And the parts were starting to get cheaper and more easier to replace.
Right.
And so there's no one on Craigslist that was offering phone repair services or like mobile phone repair services.
Right.
You had to go into all like the repair shops and whatnot. And so I remember, I don't want to say I was the first one, but we were the first people to actually do mobile phone repair, like go to people's homes and actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. After that, basically we do like cloud integration and whatnot because the cloud is getting to be a bigger thing.
Right.
Little website development here and there, and music production.
Website development.
Yeah, here
So
and
our
there.
competitors.
Right. Yeah. It's all collaborative. But then on top of that, music production as well. I've made music before I actually started working with IT. And
Yeah.
so, anyone just
those kind of like correlate,
Yeah.
Music, technology. I mean, they're all coming together. But starting out with IT and knowing computers helps you with any business you want to do.
Right.
Knowing how to do websites, how to do the IT stuff, how to do marketing of a business is really important.
Yeah.
Like that Cool Nerd Squad shirt.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what we were saying.
Tell us how'd you make that?
Well, this date came up very quickly, and just been very busy with many things. And so last night, I was looking around everywhere. I was like calling all these different t-shirt companies, like, "Hey, can you make this? Hey, can you make this?" And every time they were saying, "Oh, it's impossible. This can't happen."
Right.
They're like, it has to be done on Monday or Wednesday or something like that. And their suggestion was to essentially go to the mall and have them just do a t-shirt press, but it's gonna be like $100. So I called one of my friends, Mike, Money Mike, and shout out to him. And he
Money Mike?
Yeah.
Is that official?
Yeah. Suso, his clothing brand. But yeah, so basically he I called him up and said, "Hey Mike, I need to make a shirt, can I swing by and make one?" And so he's like, "Yeah, sure, help me out with some music stuff and you make a shirt and we'll call it good."
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. We live in Vegas, and they call Reno the biggest little city in the world, but I would say everyone.
Yeah.
If you know someone, they know. It's such a small town for like what do we have, 1 million people that live here?
Right.
And it's really like if you know Magic Mike or Money Mike.
Yeah, Money Mike. Yeah.
And Magic Mike, he's here. No.
Yeah. Well, and so that's what's cool about it is that it's having relationships like that. It's so collaborative, and every time every time we talk, it's like, "Hey man, how you doing? Since the last time I've seen you, what have you progressed on?" And we both talk about that, and then meet together, do something, help each other out, and then until the next time.
That's definitely how the business world works. Right, Manny?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, the good thing about Vegas is like everybody. It's a small city, and everybody knows each other, and everybody's just helping each other, business to business.
Right.
You know, and that's pretty cool. You know, I also want to mention that me and Corinthian work years in the past, and he's one of the best IT ever. So if you guys want to give him a shout out, you know, Cool Nerd Squad. I don't know if you have a website right now, but
under development. It's
under
in progress.
development?
In progress. Yeah.
yeah, I've seen the framework and stuff like that. It's just coming up pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to. It was weird because social media, as it was starting to come up back in like 2013. My father and I were talking about it, and he was like, social media is going to be huge. You should do it. I'm like, I know this, but I'm someone who. I'm a very private person, so I just don't like, showing everything.
As he's on podcast.
Yeah, so after a while, I just would do the minimum on social media, and I have like 170 likes or something like that with the Cool Nerd Squad, but I've serviced over like couple thousand people. But every once in a while, it was only them that were like, hey, can I like you on Facebook? I'm like, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's in the business world, it's hard to get likes.
Right.
A lot of business people like you, they're private, and they don't even go on Facebook or Instagram.
Exactly.
They have like someone in their office, or they hire a social media company to do their stuff, and
Right.
they never. It's hard to get reviews from for business to business. It's hard to get reviews.
Right.
It's hard to get likes.
Right.
Unless they're regular people.
Exactly.
Unless you have kind of a sexy product, and no one's like, I'm going to jump on the IT social media. Yes. Unless you're doing something really cool and out of the box and fun. But,
Exactly.
But not that IT is not sexy. I think it's a really good business to get into, because it's huge, like networking, network security, IT. I mean, that's the biggest industry by far. And then in the next 10 years is going to be trillions of dollars, because with automation and all these things coming out, that network security and having a good IT system is very important for any type of business.
Right.
Which kind of brings us to one of the next points that we're going to talk about, which is, are we secure online? Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Are we secure?
No.
No, I believe that the HTTPS. You're saying the little S at the end doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean it.
Well, it really, it's like a mixed. It's a mixed answer, really.
Like I need to feel cradled
right
in there.
Well, because the thing is, like, no, not really, because it really depends on the company whom you're, doing whatever with. So if you're on Facebook, it's up to Facebook to actually, provide that security.
And they kind of own like everything you do,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
They own everything you do, and if you have a website that's secured,
right,
there's always if a hacker wants to if there's some kid living in his mom's basement, he's like, Mom, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm trying to hack into the Pentagon. He's gonna get into the freaking Pentagon. I mean, if he there's these super geniuses that live on computers,
right?
And there's just no way, if they want to get in, they're not going to get into my site, but if they wanted to get into Sony, you look at the biggest companies in the world, Arby's,
right?
No, Lowe's,
well, like Sony,
yeah, all of the VA stuff, all of the. So if you think that your stuff isn't online, you're kind of living in your own little bubble, like, we're all good. You're not secure online.
Right.
That's how I think, like, just whatever, just put it all out there, because it's out there anyway.
Well, and that leads to the next thing, is that ultimately, I would say it doesn't matter, like, unless you're doing some crazy stuff that, you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what does it matter, because so like with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and like those type of situations or whatever, like they literally take all the data that they've accumulated from you,
and they own it.
Yeah, they own it completely.
You basically, by logging in and accepting their terms and conditions, which is like 5,000 million words long, and they make up their own word. Weren't we talking about that? They make up their own words. They're like, analytical. Right. Like, what does analytical mean? Right. It's Facebook's definition for you give us everything. Subservience.
Right. Well,
we own you.
Then the thing with that is basically, that's the whole model of the freemium that's the freemium model essentially.
Yeah, which is beautiful.
If you get it
freemium
for free, then they have to do something to offset that cost. And
tit for tat, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You give them your soul.
Yeah.
To use Facebook.
Exactly.
You will remit soul. That's what analytical means.
Right.
Isn't that Facebook had that trouble? I think they were in a court or something like that about
Zuckerberg's he's been out of court for he's been going to court for the last couple of years.
Oh yeah. They just paid $5 billion.
But
still people don't care.
It was in the terms and conditions. Like if you didn't read the 5 million words and you didn't know what analytical meant or symbological or Facebook blah, 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 whatever word they made up, then that was your fault.
Right.
If you've ever watched the South Park, have you guys ever watched the South Park where the iTunes?
Yeah.
Where it's the human centipede or human iPad or whatever. The Quito gel.
Yeah.
Or the cuttlefish.
Right. Yeah, no,
that's basically it. Like these terms and conditions, you'd be spending like your whole life. You would have to basically get a law degree in Facebook law or in iTunes law or whatever law, YouTube law to like fight them, and they have billions and billions, trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I guess they might pay you off, but there's really no point. It would just be more of a hassle than it would be worth.
Right.
And as the little guy, what are we gonna do? Like, damn you, Facebook.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg, I want to see you on trial, but he's like worth billions of dollars. So.
Well, that's why it's kind of good that the regulation is happening or at least the conversation for regulation is happening, because now you have companies like Google that are at least trying to give you like a dashboard of your profile, your Google profile, and
Google Plus.
No, just like the Google account. So if you log into Google and then you go into like settings or whatnot, then you can see your Google account, and it has the privacy section. It has all that stuff. Which
is another one of those.
Yeah, it is.
Let's pat you on the back. Right. And my back is not actually located on my back. It's no.
Right. Well, at least you can from there you can look at your data that they're gathering on you. You can look at how many times you've logged in, or if there's another IP address that's logged in with your email.
But will the average user even know how to do that? Like you do IT, we work on the computer all day.
Right.
My dad or my grandma, she's not gonna know how to do. She knows how to get on the iPad and do Facebook.
Right.
But she doesn't know how to check their privacy to make sure that they're not like recording you through your webcam.
Right.
Which is like,
Well, that's the point. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And that's the point of
your phone.
That's the point of the Cool Nerd Squad is we, as we help you out and fix your issue, we kind of educate you on, like the technology that you're using and that we're fixing for you.
Yeah.
So I think it's up to the IT field to try to educate the typical users more so that they know what they're using.
Yeah, in like layman terms.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to be a power user or anything like that, but as long as you can,
like getting into the settings is easy for us.
It really and it's really you just have to like do it. If you do it and just kind of take 10 minutes to kind of look at what's around, then you know.
But I still don't believe that checking this box, they're not going to collect my data.
Well, that's
have you been on Google AdWords in the last year? They're like household income, age, hair color, eye color, how many times they blew their nose. It's like they get blood type,
right?
Sperm sample. No, it's like they know everything about it.
What's funny is I always talk smack about it at first, but then once I started needing to do ads myself here and there, because I'm just starting to get into all that, and I was like, oh yeah, I need this audience, this person, this is the exact person I need.
But they've kind of forced you to do that because we're ranked in the top 3 for really competitive keywords.
Right.
But now you have to scroll down. Like it's really big on Yelp. Now there's 10 sponsored ads.
Okay.
Like 10 sponsored ads above the organic. So I could be number 1 in organic, but they'd have to scroll down to the bottom of the dang page or the second page. It's going to soon be on the second page.
Right.
Because they've really been changing a lot of that stuff. Like before they had to have a certain, like a different color for the ads. It had to have a background. It had to have all this. But now you can't even tell the difference. Like a normal person, they can't tell the difference between an ad and an organic search result on all those things. Right. And that's the bad thing about being at their whim. Like Google owns your business essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And like, and if you look up IT, even if I said I'm in the top 3 for web design, the top 2 above me are Yelp, which is a big company, and they're probably paying Google under the table to be organically ranked. Right. I'm thinking, that's just a conspiracy. Google, don't come after me. But really, I think there's these backdoor deals that we'll make you organically ranked. But they have a really high domain authority, so that's why they're ranked. And then there's another one called UpCity.
Okay.
So basically, these are 2 listing sites. They're not even web developers that are outranking web developers. Right. So I'm the highest ranked web development company, but the top 2 on top of me are like directory listings. Right. So people are going to Google. It sounds like idiotic to me. They go to Google to find a list of web designers, and then they find a website with another list of web designers instead of just finding your list of web designers. It's
kind of redundant.
It just sounds nonsensical.
Yeah, well, it's pay to play now. So
really, and you're like forced to do Google ads. Right. I just put up my budget. I was doing like a really small budget, and then you had to put it up because even if you're ranked number 1, you're like halfway down the page.
Exactly.
Yep. So. Do you think we answered, are you secure online?
Yeah, well, I would say the final note is, you shouldn't really worry too much about it. Like,
just let them take it.
Yeah, just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Ease it in.
Just let it.
Let them lube up the glove.
Well, ultimately, because we can do things to try to offset it, but it's been for the last 10, 15 years, it's been what it is,
And we put them in this position.
We allow them to. But, if you want to secure yourself online, then just I would just make for sure you have nice, secure passwords. Just monitor what you provide online.
So you're saying using my cat's name with a 1 after isn't
right?
Good?
Yeah.
I don't have a cat. He's dead.
well, actually, what's funny is that with passwords, people usually do something that immediately pertains to them, like in their life. So like a cat or their favorite beverage or something like that, and they won't put any numerical values afterwards.
No special symbol characters. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you put a number afterwards, it increases your security by like 8 times, and then if you put a symbol, then it's like another 16 times, and then if you do like a capital letter at the beginning or any point in there, it's almost impossible to hack.
But if someone hacks into the database of whatever company that you're working with, they can get whatever passwords they want.
Yeah,
if they can get into the back door, and all these sites have back doors.
That's how you get hacked.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's not.
People don't just guess your thing based on your cat.
They're not doing brute force attacks on you directly.
Yeah, they just have a bot that goes out. They create a program that creates a virus and tries to find back doors on these sites. They're not guessing your cat's name. Unless they've been watching you for years. I don't think these dudes are leaving their basements.
Yeah. Well, and then when it comes to that, they go in the back door. If a company, I think like Robinhood. Have you heard Robinhood? It's like an investment app, and basically it got in trouble here a couple days ago for actually storing their customers' passwords in plain text.
They weren't encrypting them on a different server. Like if you use PHPs, it has different points levels security points.
Yeah, because usually you have the password that's encrypted, and then you have your key when you try to log in. With it. Then it goes to the encryption.
And before they were doing that with like credit cards, they would just have them all like an Excel sheet or something.
Yeah, and that's what like Robinhood got in trouble for. So,
I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's a big thing. But as long as once again, as long as you just try to make for sure on your end you're keeping it as safe as possible, and you're not just giving your information freely, you're as okay as you can be. Then you just gotta like Jesus take the wheel, and let them handle it.
It kind of brings me to this Bitcoin. I know this is kind of off the topic, but what is Bitcoin? What are they mining?
Right.
What are they mining? I've been thinking about this. I'm like, okay, they have these computers that are mining something, and I'm going to get a lot of flack about Bitcoin because people love it.
Yeah.
But what are they mining? They're mining. What I think they're doing is these computers are collecting data all over the internet, collecting people's information all the time, and they have these mining units,
Right.
and people are creating them all over that have a certain software from Bitcoin, and it's basically a virus that's collecting data all the time. Because what's more valuable than gold or diamonds or anything?
Right.
It's personal data, people data.
Exactly.
It's since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of time, if you had more information on your enemy or someone else, you had the power. That's power.
Right.
That is
And
power.
these dudes that are getting this information from Bitcoin, you know, you look at that, what was it, Office Space, the old movie where they were taking like a half a penny over years.
Right.
That's basically what I'm thinking is going on.
Yeah.
They're collecting data from banks,
Right.
a little bit of a few cents that it doesn't even show up on statements,
Right.
and no one even can tell.
Well, that's what at least from my thought process and my little research I did into blockchain and whatnot, the blockchain, the whole thing is that it's on a ledger that's public.
Yeah.
So all the transactions and all that stuff, they're made public and they get locked into where, you know.
Well, there's different cells of security.
Right.
Right? So even if this is broken, it breaks it apart and the chain connects. That's how I think of it, right? There's these different cells of security.
Right.
But whoever's in control of that security.
Right. Well, and that's the idea, is that it's supposed to be, you know, decentralized and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it gets to a point where it kind of has to, like, it's like, okay, if it's totally decentralized, then who, you know, who's going to make for sure it still runs? You know, and that's kind of
there has to be a dictator.
Exactly. There has to be someone.
Bitcoin and blockchain sound perfect, just like a communist society on paper. Sounds perfect.
Right.
But there's always someone, and that brings us to what drives the human biology?
Right.
Love, lust, power.
Right.
Power is a big thing.
Yeah.
Once you get a taste for it, you look at Caesar, he had a little bit of power.
Right.
And he wanted more and more and more.
Yeah.
And if you have, now it's not how strong I am, it's how technologically advanced you are.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you're smarter than these other people, you have power over them.
Right.
And a lot of people that don't know about computers, they're powerless in this digital age.
Right.
You know?
There's been many times where I've been called a wizard by just like resetting someone's router, you know, or like, you know, flipping a
You're
switch,
like,
you know, or something like that. I'm just like, well, thank you, but there's so many people that are so much more smarter than me, you know, and although it's flattering,
But
it's
not
like,
better looking.
you know.
How do you get that? How do you get your hair like that? When you're in between IT work, you're just fluffing
you
it
know,
up.
Yeah, I'm just doing my thing. Well, actually, I was thinking about getting dreadlocks here soon. So I've been, I'll rinse my hair with water, you know, every day. But probably
mineral oils.
Once or twice a week, I'll actually go through and actually wash it with shampoo and conditioner. But I try to like keep the natural oils in there for the most part.
You're like, I lather this up with Kills every day in the morning.
Yes. You know, so yeah, it's a good point.
All right, so let's stop scaring the people with how not secure they are online, even if they're using 3 cats' names combined in a typography type security password.
Right.
At the end of the day, I believe you're at these companies' whim and how secure they are.
Right.
And they're not secure. You look at Sony and the U.S. government. There's some kid that lives in his mom's basement that eats peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and he can hack in because he's a wizard.
And
Right.
the scary part is that it's very easy. It's like, I mean, all you need to do is just learn the commands, and that's it.
Exactly right.
Oh yeah, and some sites are a lot more intricate, and they have better security, but some are probably easy. I mean, you look at some of these big companies, and they're not up to par with anything, and they're collecting data. They're using a POS system, which like even when in our business we use like QuickBooks, or we use this, we use that, and we're at those other companies' kind of whims. They own that data.
Right.
So you're giving your data to other people.
Right.
And even these big companies like Sony, they're probably doing the processing through an outside source.
Right.
Now you're at that bank securities whim with credit card information and stuff.
Right.
So let's move on.
Yeah.
To something a little more fun. All right. So how many people are killed by robots each year?
Well, you would think it's a lot actually, but it's not that much.
Not yet.
Yeah, well, they're actually okay. So in my research, I saw that, which I have no idea about the source or whatnot, but they said it was around 114 people that were actually killed by robots, documented at least.
Like factories, manufacturing.
Factories. Yeah,
because robotics have been around for a long time in manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's the last like 10 years. It's been 114 people, and usually it's scenarios where like humans.
They made the mistake.
Error. Yeah, that's usually what it is.
It's always human error.
The robots aren't the ones that make the error that often.
I personally don't think robots are going to kill us. I think automation's going to destroy us.
Right.
Like, I am so lazy. I hate driving. I don't want to drive. I want my car to drive for me because computers are better at that stuff.
Right.
They don't make errors like humans do.
Right.
If there was an error with the automation, it would have been a human error.
Right.
Because we are imperfect and we cannot follow directions like a robot can. Mm-hmm. If I tell a computer do this and I give it these commands, it would do exactly what I did unless I screwed something up and I put something wrong in the programming of that computer.
Right.
They are slaves to whatever we tell them to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Essentially.
And that's why Tesla is like so crazy to me, because like have you ever been in a Tesla before?
I've never been.
Tesla?
I looked at one online. No. I looked in someone's window.
To their website.
No, they were sleeping in the car, and I looked in the window.
Yeah. No, one of my clients, he's a doctor, and he has a Tesla. Him and his wife have a Tesla, each, and one's white.
At least he's not a lawyer.
Right. But
doctors are all right.
Yeah, no, they're cool people. So they wanted me to actually help with the like the dash cam, and you need a flash drive to put into it, so that of course the data goes to the flash drive and you have a backup of it. And when I was in there, before that, so we're walking up to it. I'm just like, okay, this looks cool, and I'm used to having like a door handle. It doesn't have a door handle. You just press the button and it's like psst, and like pops out.
It does that noise?
Oh,
like,
yeah, no,
like Star Wars?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It was like
into the Tesla.
It was like welcome. No,
welcome to the Tesla. Sit on my face.
Well, it for at least I thought it came out to like where I was, because I was pretty close to the door, and it felt like it didn't go out all the way. It came out to like exactly where I was, to where I can just grab it, and it was like.
It has a sensor that stops so it doesn't hit another door.
Exactly.
But does it stop other cars from hitting their door, hitting it?
Well,
it's like, no.
That would be funny. But so it came out.
Spikes come out.
It like closes the door. If it's open, it'll close in. But so it was cool because it came out by itself, and then I got into the car, and the screen is huge. It's like, just imagine like 4 or 5 iPads, and it's just in the center console. They're just like right there. Yeah.
I think I saw a video.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. So that thing, well, you would expect it to be like, kind of buggy or not as responsive as maybe like an iPad, because the screen is so huge compared to iPad, but it's actually like perfect. Like, it's on, you touch anything and it happens.
It really responsive to touch. Yeah.
It's
I mean, they're getting really good with the screens, and for $100,000.
It better be
for that car. You should.
Right.
I mean, for a car, you have to get down into the car. I hate driving cars.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's funny? I'm
an SUV man.
Yeah. Well, I love driving cars. I remember back in the day when I was 15. Like the day I turned 15, I got my permit, and I was just like ecstatic. The day I turned 16, got my license. Boom, and just, I was.
I mean, I like to. If I could drive like as fast as I wanted to everywhere, I would like to drive.
Right.
But since we have like these meter-maid cops that are going to lose their jobs as soon as autonomous comes out, and if there's any police officers listening, Hey, sorry, you need to get a real job instead of like clocking us while we're driving 10 miles over the speed limit. Like, they should be getting real criminals, not people trying to get to work. You know, I think police are a really good thing to have, law enforcement, but like law enforcement over driving unless you're hurting someone. I just think once autonomous comes out and it's something big, these guys are going to be out of a job.
Right.
They're going to have to collect money some other way. That's how they make money, is by giving us tickets.
Yeah, they have to meet their quota.
Yeah. They give out like tickets. They probably give out 10 times as many tickets as they do catch criminals.
Right.
Like if I got my car stolen, they'd be like, oh, well, I don't know where it is. But were you driving 10 miles per hour? We saw you on the camera. We're going to give you a ticket. Like, okay, well, why don't you like find the car? You know?
Right. Well, that's like the tricky thing, because like so let's say if you do have to speed to work or something like that, then it's like a game of like, okay, well, how fast can I go? Because at least from what I've been taught and whatnot, you can go 5 miles per hour over the speed limit and you're pretty much fine. When you start approaching 10, that's where it's kind of like iffy. You're in that gray area. But then once you go past 10, then it's like, no, we got you. But so you're like, okay, cool. If it's 65, I'm going 70 just off top.
But if you could go as fast as you wanted, would you? Like if you lived in a country where you could just go as fast, like you can go to 100 miles per hour.
Well, yeah, I would do within reason, I would say.
Yeah. They should just have like foam that shoots out of the car.
Yeah, well, because you have a lot of people who are just they don't think about it. So if it's like speed limit's 100, they're like, cool, I'm going 120. I'm smashing through the streets.
No, they don't have it. They don't have a speed limit in this alternate reality,
right? And
no one gets hurt from the car.
well, the Autobahn, apparently the fatality rate and all that stuff is actually really low because people
and their freeways are straight. I've been on the Autobahn, and then when I lived in Italy, they had the Autostrada.
Oh, okay.
So half of the freeway, at least in Italy, was the Autostrada, and you can go as fast as you want.
Right.
But I had an Alfa Romeo. I tried to go on there. An Alfa Romeo, it was kind of like a Honda Civic.
Right.
And it could probably max out at like 100 miles per hour, maybe. So I was going 100 miles per hour, and it started to smoke, so I had to.
Right.
But there's like, but they have a barrier in between like the regular cars. They can't obviously be on, because if someone's going 200 miles per hour and there's like some old granny going 60, I mean, someone's gonna get hurt. So they have a speed limit on the right side of the road, and then they have a barrier, which I think would be, I think that's how we're going to do autonomous on these freeways. They're going to start on the freeways. They're going to have a barrier for the autonomous, probably some kind of magnetic sensor, or the autonomous technology is using like sonar, right?
Well,
that's one of the main.
Yeah, there's 3 different technologies they use,
and one is going to overtake it, like whatever technology.
Well, I think it'll almost be
a convergence of all 3.
Yeah, a fusion of all of them. And that's actually what I've seen with technology is when there's giant leaps.
Like LCD, LED, and plasma. They're all kind of they're taking technology from this other tech and they're making theirs better.
Right.
And that's
exactly. And so with the technology they use to detect stuff with cars, they have the radar first, or like just regular sensors, and they'll put like 12 sensors around the car to where it's behind the metal of the bumper, and it'll detect where something is, but it can't really like see anything or see it won't be able to differentiate.
You're gonna see how far it is.
Exactly, and the velocity and the direction it's going. It won't be able to differentiate a paper bag and a dog.
Hey, did I tell you that?
Well, no, that's
and a puppy.
Right, yeah.
A plastic bag. That's what I was thinking. Are these cars going to be stopping like every 10 seconds? Oh, there's a plastic bag.
Right.
Whereas a human, we automatically make that deduction. We're like, okay, this is a plastic bag. I'm just going to run over it.
Right.
Or that's a bag of puppies. I'm going to run up. No, I'm going to go around.
No,
unless you're a sadist, then you would run over the puppies.
Yeah, then you're like 10 points.
The puppy's sake, yeah.
Right.
Then there's some people out there that's the human condition, I guess.
Well, there's people that really try to go for pigeons. That's a big thing.
It's impossible to hit a pigeon. I would give them props for that. Actually.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good. There's one time. Well,
those pigeons.
I'll say it's up to the pigeon though, because there's one time
well, yeah. There's a lazy pigeon.
Yeah. No, there was one time it was probably actually a couple weeks ago, and I was driving out my neighborhood, and there's one pigeon that he was he was flying close, and I was like, okay, cool pigeon, no big deal. And then he was like getting closer and closer, and I'm just kind of like, what are you doing? What's going on? And then he got so close, I had to actually slow down, almost slam on my brakes. And then he kind of like was just hovering in front of me and then dipped off.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy have a death wish, or what's going on?
You should just let him do his thing.
All right. Well, I was on the way to a client, so I couldn't have red on my windshield, and the car's white, so that would be
They're like, you hit a pigeon? You got the job. I hate pigeons.
So, yes.
You're hired.
Right.
Dude, actually, I had a customer that he's a falconer.
Oh.
You know what that is? So he trains falcons.
Yeah.
And that's and now he has a pigeon control company. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot about pigeons and birds.
Yeah.
So he has a falcon, and that's one way that you can get rid of pigeons. Like because they kind of like, they'll collect in an area where they find food and where they kind of nest, and tell if there's a predator that comes into their area. And the falcon is a predator, so this is only in certain cases, he'll bring the falcon in to scare off the birds, but they just move to another area that they were at before, probably, usually.
Right.
And then there's a lot of different ways to get rid of the pigeons.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool thing. I would think there would be a different way to get rid, like using some kind of tech, because how do pigeons determine between a real falcon and just like using the noise of the falcon or the smell?
Right.
So if you can come out with a system that just has I'm giving this away for free. Block it. Google's listening. No, if they could come out with like a sensor that gave out a noise, like a supersonic noise that only birds could hear, because they can hear things we can't, I'm guessing.
Right.
I don't know a lot about pigeons. Well, from what I heard from him.
Well, you can just throw that on a drone, really. If you get the technology, throw it on a drone.
Well, it could just be like, you know how they have those rat things? You can just put them out, parameters around your whole area.
Right.
And it could give out like that, and then maybe like the smell sense or something of the bird, the predator.
Right.
Because that would scare them off out of those areas.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, and if you put it on the roofs. If you put it in the on the gutters,
you do a strip of them.
Yeah, that could be something.
Ah, man, Google, write that down.
Yeah.
If that comes out, I know it was Google.
Yeah. Hopefully China doesn't take
my
it.
idea.
But yeah, that's one of the ways he does it. And then another one is like they shoot him with like pellets and stuff. Okay,
that's a barbaric way to do it.
That's barbarical, not the predator tearing him apart.
Actually, there's restaurants that actually pay people to go out there and shoot birds.
Yeah, that's what he gets paid for is the pigeon control.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, well, so going to the other technologies with autonomous vehicles. So we had the radar, we discussed that. So then they have the actual camera system, and that's what Tesla uses. So Tesla, they have about, I think it was like around 10 different cameras that are everywhere around the car. And Elon Musk is talking about how he likes using visual data to basically get collected before
and
the
they're
AI.
Monitoring that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's all for the
just
AI.
outside the car. It's all for the AI.
Yeah. Well, it's all for the AI to
Elon Musk. He's been AIing it up.
Well, it's all up to the AI to basically gather all that data and determine. Okay, so there's a vehicle over here. There's this.
Yeah.
There's that. It's more so the radar can determine there's an object there and the velocity and directions going in. The camera can actually determine, okay, that's a car, that's a child, but it's up to the AI to actually compute that.
What if it's just a bag shaped or a child shaped bag?
Well, there's always loopholes, so you can you have like cut arounds of.
And then they're monitoring the speed through that. What's the next one that they use? It's
almost like the sonar. I forget what exactly.
I would think the sonar would be the sensor, so it just it sends because like submarines, we got the tech from bats, but submarines have been using it forever.
Yeah.
Because how do they determine a well, which they would probably just hit, versus a big rock in the
Right.
And they're going pretty fast in the
Right.
water, and they've been doing that since. I would hate to be in a submarine, man.
Oh, that would be rough.
Oh, it'd be rough. I knew this dude. His dad was in he worked in the submarine, and they're under the water for like 6 months. They go insane because they don't have their own bed. You can't stand up if you're above like 6 something. You can't stand up straight for 6 months.
Oof.
You're like, you start to turn to like Igor.
Yeah.
But they do call it's called a hot sack or hot bed or whatever. So you do a 12-hour shift,
right?
And then you take over this guy's cot. So like you guys switch the cot.
Yeah, that's
there's
so
a lot
intense.
of stains on there.
Well, especially a whole bunch of dudes. You're just stuck with like 30
Yeah,
dudes.
women aren't allowed on there. They don't do that because they'd probably get pregnant. Like, and they can't go up.
Right.
Like they don't go up. You don't see the light of day.
Right.
That would make anyone go insane.
Well, that's a big thing. Yeah, like being able to just get some sun, be able to soak that in.
Oh yeah.
We need that as humans.
I really feel for these dudes in submarines.
Yeah.
I really do. It'd be like being in a spaceship for like if you. How long would it take to get to Mars? Does anyone?
I think it was 6 months.
Takes 6 months. It'd be like the same thing, but I think this would be. Maybe it would be about the same size as a sub,
right?
Because they need to make it as efficient as possible.
That would probably be so smaller because when they go to space, I mean they're just like the modules they use. They're pretty small, so they're gonna it's
right.
So it's the modules they use for NASA. I mean they're pretty small and stuff.
Right,
so
right.
Even smaller than that.
Well, like because initially you just like take off. And then after that, they have some little propellers that basically get you in the general direction. But then after that, you're just like cruising from there.
Oh yeah.
So that's
they have some propulsion that keeps you on level.
Exactly.
But then you're just using the non-gravity to propel you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean that's a pretty cool point. But so yeah they've been using the sonar for that,
right?
And that's one of the sensors in Tesla. But I would think they would need like some kind of X-ray or infrared, because infrared could do the heat level and it can tell a human versus a tree or something.
Exactly.
Even like if the human's standing like this, like weird, like.
Right. To be able to see that.
Like some dude walking down the street with a rock,
on
like meth or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that here in the future, it'll be the combination of those technologies and
the car will transform and fight the guy.
Right.
With the rock.
It'll throw a rock at the human.
I want a transformer car. That would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool. It'd be
like it could turn into a lawnmower. You could mow the lawn.
Well, as long as where you're sitting, you don't get squished when it transforms. As long as it can turn into like a cockpit and you can be like Mobile Suit Gundam, you're just in the middle of it.
You could be in like a zero gravity, like kind of just
kind of
just float there.
You use the steering wheel to actually maneuver it around.
Oh yeah. So, which brings me back to like getting centered on this whole thing around autonomous. There's not just autonomous vehicles. There's going to be autonomous a lot of things like the Neuralink you're telling me about, and I kind of looked it up.
Right.
That's what I'm seeing is you're able to control things with your mind. You'd be able to control your phone without. You would just think, oh, I want my phone to start, and it would start and open this up, and that's what I'm thinking. It's transmitting your thoughts into tech.
Right. Well, yeah, it's basically taking like the electrodes and all.
It's making us cyborgs.
Yeah,
essentially.
Well, that's what Elon Musk thinks that we need to, in order for us to actually survive within the next 100 years, we need to actually start.
I want bionic legs.
Into cyborgs. Well, have you seen like the new prosthetic arms?
They're awesome, dude.
Oh, dude.
The legs, I think they're already doing that because I saw this guy. I just went camping. I was gone last week. I went to Twin Lakes, which is like an hour from Mammoth, and it's like 2 hours from this other place. Some other place, I can't remember.
Yeah, the other place.
Yeah, it's near. It's near not Yellowstone. What's another place in California that's like Yellowstone? Yosemite.
Yeah,
Yosemite.
There we go.
Yosemite. So there was this guy. We were walking around, and he had this bionic leg, and he was when he walked, it like it had hydraulics. So when he walked and when he stepped up, it would like bend the knee.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Bend the knee.
Yes, you would bend the knee.
Game of Thrones when I got to do the bend the knee, bro.
Well, as a little side note, though,
Season 8 really pissed me off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think about the final episode?
Season 8 just sucked, man.
like it.
And I'm a big GRRM or George Martin, the guy that wrote the books. I love his writing. He's like insane,
right?
And I love how he writes. How he's just so sadistic,
right?
Because you read a lot of other characters. I know we're getting a little off topic, but you read a lot of. There's a lot of other writers.
Right.
They can't write like insane characters.
Right.
Like okay, so Stephen King is pretty good at that.
Right.
You have to be like kind of sadistic to write a crazy character like Joffrey. One of their other ones like that just likes to hate.
Right.
Because there's another writer I like that does fantasy stuff kind of like that, but he can't write an evil character. Right. All of his characters, even the evil ones, have like motivation.
Right.
They're doing it for a good reason.
Yeah.
And that I always see that in a lot of things. Like some people just do evil stuff. No motivation behind it. They're just evil.
Yeah.
Like
just
they're sadistic. Something's wrong with their,
Right.
But okay, so this guy with the bionic leg, his bent the knee.
Yes.
So yeah, every time he would walk, it was like bending the knee, and I don't know if there was a sensor that said this stepped up, or if it was a transmitter that was connected to his nerves,
right?
That said the knee it was bending and had to go down. Because when you would go down, it would straighten out. Right. And then it would bend. It was like working like a regular leg.
Right.
Like before, they had the ones that had like little bows in them.
Yeah.
And those were kind of cool. People would run with them. They probably still have them.
Oh, you could like jump super high with those.
They're sick, man. They're pretty cool.
Do that.
Like low key, if I ever, knock on wood, if I ever got my legs amputated, then I would definitely use those.
You might do it in the future. I think people would be like, or not amputated, but get bionic parts
integrated
into your body, because so you can be stronger and faster. And then that's another thing. Like I've been listening to Joe Rogan. I never listened to him before, but you guys are kind of telling me, get prepped for this. Listen to him. But he keeps talking about the transgender, or this like 30-year-old dude.
Right.
He identifies as a woman, so he wants to compete as a woman in sports.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another thing in the future where you have bionic implants.
Right.
It's going to be another law like steroids. Steroids are going to be nothing.
Yeah, that's going to be archaic.
Yeah, because steroids they take what you can do and they make you enhance.
Right.
But with robotics,
that's a separate level.
You're on a different level. Yeah. You're something. You're not even human. Right. You would be in a different category. Right. Cyborg. Right. Isn't that a mixture of human and
wouldn't it be
and robotics?
Well, wouldn't it be interesting to see let's say Brock Lesnar like just totally pumped out on steroids, and then someone who's a cyborg, and have them go at it, and
the cyborg would beat him down, even if it was some little girl. Cyborg. Have you seen that movie about the robot chick that's like lethal?
What was it?
Avalon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just watched
Avalon.
That last week.
Yeah.
You watched it?
Yeah, I watched
we watched it in theaters. It was pretty cool.
It's a nice movie, actually. It has some pretty good 3D graphics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the CGI was nuts in that movie.
CGI, it was good.
They're doing some crazy things with CGI.
Oh, yeah.
But I think some of the movies now, they focus way too much. This was a good story.
Yep.
And it was a good book. And I talked to my friend Paul. He was telling me about the book because he's read. They're like graphic novels. But the story was good and the CGI was good. Whereas you look at Transformers and people might say, okay, that was a good movie. I think the story sucked in Transformers, and they really focused on the CGI. They put a ton of money towards CGI, and they're like, oh, the story's just an afterthought. They killed a bunch of robots, and then they fought, and then,
that's it. That's the whole plot.
That's kind of how, what's the Thor, the Marvel Avengers.
Yeah, Avengers.
The story's okay, but I think they're just popping them out, and they focus a lot on the CGI and the fight scenes.
Right.
But the story kind of suffers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the art behind the story.
Right. Well, exactly. Like me too. I love reading books and writing English and stuff like that. So I appreciate it too. Like the Avengers Endgame, to me, it looked beautiful. especially when Thanos was like bringing the meteor.
And that's what they focused on. They probably spent $1 million on like a scene. I didn't even watch the movie.
Yeah, well, they had over like 11 different studios that actually was working on different aspects of the CGI.
Right.
Like Thanos, I think was like 3 or 4 different studios or something. I might be completely wrong, but multiple studios actually worked on him.
Yeah.
Just in and of itself.
So they put all of their A players on that, and they spent a lot of money on that. And then they're like, oh, we'll get these college dropout the guys that can't even write. They'll write the story.
Right.
You know, so they
turns right for us.
That's like it's like the afterthought for them.
Right.
But
well, yeah, because they dumbed down Thanos a lot. Like, well, not dumbed him down, but they kind of they diluted him, I would say, because Thanos in the comics, he's so much more than just like than what he was portrayed in.
Like the bad guy.
Yeah, he was so much more than just what he was portrayed in the actual Endgame and Infinity Wars. But you know, what can you do?
But there's different comics, and there's with each writer, they take their own take on it. Like if you look at Batman or Spider-Man, like they have like this really young kid, and then in another one he's 20 something. Yeah, Tobey Maguire. But like the new one, he's really, really naive.
Right.
And I mean, he seems kind of smart, but in the old ones, he's like a scientist.
Exactly.
And like the ones where I watched, but that's why I don't get him now in the cartoon, because this must be a new one. Because when I watched it, I watched the one in the 90s, and he was like a scientist.
That was my stuff.
And he was in college, and he was like smart. And he wasn't like, we're all having a good. Like he kind of knew he was. He wasn't naive about
what he was
stuff.
talking about.
Yeah. He was a really smart guy. He was like a genius.
Right.
So, I just don't see the correlation between the new one.
Right.
Like I liked the one before him.
Oh.
The one I don't know the kid's name, but I guess they didn't like him or something, so they stopped. But I liked that one.
Okay.
The one with the one girl.
Oh.
That played Mary Jane, the blonde one.
I know you're talking about.
And she was in like Get the A or something, or
well,
Emma Stone. The one with Emma Stone.
Yeah, there we go.
She's a good actress, I think.
Yeah, I like her. I liked her as Mary Jane. It was really sad to see her die, but you know.
Yeah. And that was a great scene where the clock was. I thought that was like beautifully shot.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why I really appreciate it. And then even the Green Goblin. And that used to be like my favorite comic book was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know why. A lot of people like Batman. I kind of related with Spider-Man more because he was really smart. Batman, I just felt like he wasn't smart. He had a bunch of money. And I don't think he could have came up with all that stuff. Like he, and the other ones, he lived in like China for like years. And then he becomes a fighting genius. It's like, okay, well, he lived there for like 6 months and then he was like the best fighter.
Well, that's what happens when you train with was it League of Assassins?
Ra's al Ghul.
Yes. So, but I just can't wait until they get out of like the origin stories with Spider-Man, because they're kind of getting to that now with the third person, but I just don't like when movies keep doing the
they do the
stories.
re-story over again. It doesn't like transit. It doesn't go forward.
It's like,
but now they have the one where he's old. It's like a cartoon.
Oh, okay.
And then there was a cartoon of it, and then there's like this alternate reality.
Oh, is it Into the Spider-Verse or?
I think so. Yeah, so my kids were watching. I watched like a little bit of it.
5 different Spider-Men.
Yeah. And his one's old, and he's like, And
that was pretty cool.
I haven't. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You've seen it? Yeah. What about you? Seen it?
I haven't seen that.
I haven't really. Cool. I got into it a little bit, but I can't even watch movies now.
Well, what's funny to see it though is, like, I'm 26. I don't feel like I'm old, you know, but then my age actually comes out when I see movies like that, because then in the movies they have all new people. They have all like new artists and stuff, new music. So they had like Post Malone in it. And a couple of like the new rappers and whatnot.
And the art style is different.
And then they have like the phones in there and social media.
I felt like have you ever sseen the Boondocks?
Yeah.
The cartoon? I felt like that was the same art style as that Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, very similar.
Where it used to be more of like, in like the 90s, I appreciated that. It looked like a comic book.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And they kind of did that with this new one, but it was a bubbly comic book.
Yeah, still, yeah. it still had like a 3D element to it.
Yeah, but that's how they do them now because it makes it so much faster to use the tech that we have today. Before they would draw. If you ever try to do a cartoon like how they used to do it, like Lion King, you could really appreciate what those dudes did because they would draw it and then they would drew it with their hand, and then they would draw it again just a little bit over,
each frame,
tiny bit over. Like they would be drawing, and your hands would be like, you'd be carpal tunnel.
I think they had like different people doing it too. They had like
and the hard part is everyone's art style is a little bit different. So, but they would have 3 guys that kind of drew the same that would do like Simba. And then they would have the guy that did Scar, and there was a couple guys that did that. So they had them all assigned to different characters. But I mean, that's how I used to draw all the time. I would watch a movie. Like I used to watch Gargoyles. You ever seen Gargoyles? I used to love that show.
I love Gargoyles.
And that was like the first that, and I used to watch that, and I'd pause it, and then I would draw like the dude gargoyle guy, like while he's on screen, you know, and then I'd try and do a comic, and I'd be like, oh man, this is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
As like a 8-year-old kid or 7 or however old I was.
I remember back when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. I loved Yu-Gi-Oh. That was my
Yu-Gi-Oh.
stuff. Yeah, that was. Man, you couldn't. I was like,
ooh,
I would go
Yu-Gi-Oh,
so hard.
go!
Yeah, I would totally.
Yu-Gi-Oh! It's time to duel.
No, I got so serious that I had the dual discs.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, no,
that movie was kind of cool. That show, I actually watched it. It came out in 2001, so I was like a teenager and I didn't watch it really, but I watched it with my kids because it came out on Netflix. And that was one thing that Netflix did great. They brought in kids, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. And then they made those two. They started to sell Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh because of Netflix.
Exactly.
Because of them, they started to set.
It got reinvented almost.
Like people were enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
And my kids wanted Pokemon cards. They wanted Yu-Gi-Oh cards when that came out.
Yeah.
And before it was dead. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, it had its run for like 3 years, and then no one really heard about it.
Some of those cards too.
The Yu-Gi-Oh? But Yu-Gi-Oh was after your time. Came out in 2001.
Yeah, I was 21 years old.
He's like, I still
love it.
Yeah, like right now we could throw down, and I'll put a card up.
Yeah,
like I used to.
You got the three-headed dragon.
Yeah, well,
the blue dragon.
The blue dragon.
Blue Eyes Ultimate.
Oh man.
Yeah, Blue Eyes
White Dragon.
Yeah, Blue Eyes White Dragon. He was cool. I had the Ultimate, then Black Luster Soldier, and you fused them. It was like Blue Eyes Ultimate with the dude. Yeah,
my kids knew a lot about. They had it all.
Egyptian god cards, all of that.
The game was a little confusing. I don't know if the game really worked like they thought it did.
Well, it was actually like an easier version of like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Which Magic, I played Yu-Gi-Oh. I remember being at the Boys and Girls Club, and I would always be like, hey, so I'll trade you, or not trade. I'll put up 5 cards if you put up 1 card, your best card. And they're like,
5 to 1.
Yeah. Cause at first it was like 1 to 1. They're like, I don't really know about it. And I was like, well, how about I put 5 cards up? So they'll be like, well, okay, I guess so. And I would totally smash them, and it got to the point where no one wanted to play me because I would just destroy everyone. And I had all the best cards because I was taking everyone's best cards.
Oh, man.
And then
at least you played them for them.
Well,
you weren't going up to like first graders and you're like, give me your cards.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, no, yeah. Well, that's, you have to earn it,
So it
got up to the point.
You appreciated the game.
Exactly.
You had a love for the game.
It got up to the point where I get super competitive. So it got up to the point where I would say, hey, I want 1 card from you. I'll put up my whole deck. I'll have 2,000 life points, and you can have 8,000 life points. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure, let's do this. And I have my dual disc and everything, and I'm going serious, and I would smash
them. You're like, go!
Yeah, I wouldn't lose.
They're like, Corinthian, you're in the library. Keep it down. Shh.
Yeah, at the Boys and Girls Club, they had to kind of separate some stuff because they're like, hey, man, you can't just be taking everyone's cards. I'm like,
they got cut off from Yu-Gi-Oh at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, so
you need to make a T-shirt.
Yeah, say I love Yu-Gi-Oh.
Just Yu-Gi-Oh with an X through it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right, so
it's awesome.
We're wrapping it up. We have a couple more minutes left. in the hour segment. I think it's been pretty good. Corinthian's given us a lot of information about IT and how he's saying that we're secure online. I don't want to kill his business, the IT business. So
well, it's up to us IT people to help you, educate you guys, and
help keeping them educated on.
That's the main thing, really.
Keeping them safe, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're just nonchalant going through, the digital space, then, you don't know anything that's coming at you. And when a lot of clients, they call me and they're like, hey, I got a virus on my computer and and I think my network's jacked up.
Well, that's the big thing, is that they can, even if their information isn't secure, but if for the business people, if your computers are down, you're not able to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's something that's immobilizing for a business.
Oh yeah. There's actually a couple weeks ago, I got an emergency call to a restaurant that's over on Maryland Parkway in Sahara.
Yeah.
And
they're using Honeywell and stuff like that.
Right. Well, it was crazy because they were like, hey, so the internet's down, or it was a technician for them, but needed some some actual networking assistance. And so he's like, this is above my pay grade. I need help. So I go over there. He's like, just go through the back and they'll let you in. So I go through the back. They're like, hey, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm here to help fix your network.
You don't have a badge? You should get a cool Nerd Squad badge.
Well, I had my uniform.
I'm with the cool Nerd Squad. It's okay.
Right, yeah. Cool Nerd Squad. Corinthian, at your service.
That'd be awesome.
Right. I think I might do that.
I think they're going to have IT police.
Well,
in the future.
That would be
I'm with the IT squad.
Awesome. Yeah, it's the IT,
the international
Metro IT.
Yeah, Metro. Yeah, really. Because with autonomous and the IT, with anything that relates to people's safety, and cars is the big issue right now with autonomous.
Right.
The big thing is going to be network security over those, not just the sensors, but if someone can hack into all the cars on one network, then they could just make them go off the road or crash or whatever.
Exactly.
So one thing they're going to have is there's going to be a network security guy that's in charge of different segments, like 100 cars or 1,000 cars or whatever they dictate.
Right.
And then there's going to be basically drone operators or autonomous operators that control 10 cars at a time.
Right.
So if they see a problem, beep, beep, they're going to be like air traffic controllers.
Right.
So autonomous controllers.
Right.
And they're going to say, okay, whatever, this car is, good. And if a sensor goes out, they can make it go to manual, and the person has to take it over that's driving. Or they can take it over themselves. Well, they would take it over and get them to a safe spot, park it until.
Right.
And that's going to be one thing that we have to pay for. This is going to be, in addition to insurance over the vehicle, which we might not be buying cars in the future. I think they'll just come pick you up.
Well, yeah, that's actually what with Tesla's. Once again, with my client who's a doctor, he said that essentially he goes out of his building to the front, and then it's basically ride hailing. So. I think that's how you say it. So basically, it'll back out. He just clicks a button. It'll back out and come around the back of the building through this alley, and then comes up just right in front of him. And there it is. Then he clicks it. It's
well, that's why Uber is so big on autonomous,
right?
Because basically they had, and a lot of companies do this, and it's kind of sad, but it's just how it is.
Right.
They have people build their network.
Right.
They've had these drivers on the back of the drivers.
Right.
They drive, but all the while, Uber is coming out with a fleet of autonomous vehicles that are going to take all these. They're going to take our jobs.
Right. Well,
they're going to take their jobs.
Right.
And there's not going to be any drivers probably in 10 years. Uber is going to be a huge taxi service of just autonomous picking you up.
Well, there's two parts to that. One is that so right now Uber, just with your phone, they're collecting so much data of
where you
go, speed, where you go, and they're collecting all that type of stuff. So they're using that to put into their artificial intelligence units. That are going to come out. Yeah. But then also Tesla. Did you see them unveil the semi truck? So that right there is actually going to be.
They've been working on that for a long time, and that's going to be the biggest thing because all these drivers, the brothels, are going to be out of business. The
whole
brothels
economy,
in Beatty.
the whole ecosystem.
Oh man, they're going to be welling from here to Castle Rock for that.
Right, yeah. And like it's going to be kind of a good thing for businesses and bad thing for
the truck drivers are going to lose their jobs.
Right.
Everyone that does a menial task that a computer can do, like that, like it's already happening at McDonald's.
Right.
Where the kiosk, I'd rather go to a kiosk than go to the kid at McDonald's because the kiosk takes my order right. Even though you're going to say the thing about
100% of the kiosks at McDonald's has feces.
They're going to get rid of the kiosk. They're going to get rid of what they're going to get rid of the kiosk instead of every one of these places having their own. And here's another thing: Google, you're going to steal this. Instead of every one of these places, like McDonald's, you can order online on their app.
Exactly.
But I don't want to download McDonald's app and Burger King app. I'm going to download one centralized kiosk app where you can order your stuff and go pick it up.
Exactly.
And that's where like Bite Squad and Uber Eats, that's what they're really trying to get into because that's going to be the future. It's going to take out the person, may I take your order? And it's just going to be a computer that collects the order. Right now, a person's putting the order together, but computers are better at that. A robot's going to put your order together. Beep. I'd rather go up to the window, and people don't want to talk to that person. Unfortunately, we feel more comfortable. We feel our closest connection in life, a lot of people, is their phone. If you feel like you lost your child, if someone loses their phone, they have panic attacks.
Well, yeah, and because that's what happens when I get a call saying, "Hey, can you come fix my phone?" And it's like, "Hey, okay, cool, my day is kind of booked, and they're like, "Well, can you just like, I'll pay you extra so you can come right now." It would be more than
like if they're a kid, they'd be like, "You're all right, we'll take you to the hospital." Their phone is like your child.
I need this today, right now, to be fixed.
And I'm saying that, but I can't be without my phone. And actually, one thing is they've done studies on them, and we got to wrap this up. But they've done studies on how your phone affects your brain. And
it does affect you
having your phone here makes your IQ drop. Having it in the room. They did a test. They had 3 people. One that had their phone out on the table. One set of the group taking the same test, all the same intelligence level. One had their phone on the table, out. One had it in their pocket, and one had it out of the room. Oops. One had it out of the room. The people that had it out of the room did the best on the test. The people that had it in their pocket did second. And they were all the same intelligence. Like they all had the same education, everything. And the people with the one on the desk did substantially worse because they were thinking about phone notifications. Like having there's a release of dopamine in your brain from that notification. Yeah, there's this book called The Dark Side of Technology. But they say that a kid being on a tablet for an hour is the equivalent to a line of cocaine. If you've ever seen someone take a device away from a kid in like the bank, and the kid's like, they're
like, I need it.
Really?
I need it.
They're like, my precious, the ring, or whatever. They get pissed. Yeah, I've seen it a few times. Like, oh man, it's a real thing.
Well, that happened when I took the phone from my girlfriend's son. And because he had bad grades in school, and I was like, man, you need to get back on track, dude. So I was like, give me your phone for a week or 2, and then you're gonna be grounded for another couple weeks because this fool had like D's and F's and a couple B's, and was just like, he knew like he didn't say nothing, but when I saw his report card, he just kind of like was kind of just like lurking around like, oh crap, it's coming. So a couple days later, I give him and I slap it to him like, yeah, no, I'm taking your phone. He's like, no, you're not. Like, what are you talking about? Like, give me your phone. No, you're not going to take my phone. No, that can't happen. I'm like, well, that is going to happen. I will kick you in your face. Like, give me your phone. And so he's like, no, I can't do it. And so I literally had to grab it from him. And
he was flipping out, and he couldn't even control it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It was like you were taking a part of his body.
Yeah, it's like it's
really it's an extension. And I was telling you about that before, that book I had. We were talking about Elon Musk, where he's in the future, he's like the president, he's AI, but you actually have like a screen implanted,
right?
And that's part of like this Neuralink.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna become kind of one with tech.
Exactly.
And it's kind of scary. It's kind of good. There's gonna be benefits and negatives.
As with everything.
But we're gonna have really like a God complex,
exactly,
where you become, and as AI becomes more powerful, symbiotic,
mm-hmm.
it starts to think.
Right.
At one point, it may take over the world. It could. Like the creator may be destroyed by that if we can, and that might be thousands of years,
right,
or even longer if it's capable of doing it.
Right.
You know, I think we're advancing so much in tech, and it's because of the internet.
Right.
Before, it used to take to get information from China was like impossible.
Right.
If you go back to the 60s, we knew nothing about them.
Right.
But okay, so let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to thank Corinthian and Manny for being on the show today and giving their insight and just collaborating and having some good times.
Yeah.
And my name is Justin Young, and I'm the founder of 702 Pros and Mad Moguls. You can watch this podcast and the YouTube video. You can go to YouTube and look at Mad Moguls, but we'll have a blinkety blink and the bloobity blue. I don't know, something. And then you can go to madmoguls.com. You can go to Stitcher and then SoundCloud to listen to the podcast. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
very
coming,
much. And,
all of you for coming.
A little plug, Cool Nerd Squad, coolnerdsquad.com will be out here within about a month or two. So
we're going to cut that off.
Yeah, so be on the lookout, and Cool Nerd Squad will take over. Just wait.
The world.
Yes.
Over the world. Let's take
Yes.
over the world.
Geek Squad, you going down.
Cool.
Mark my words.
Oh, the Geek Squad. All right. Cut. That was cool.
That was cool.